Good morning, I'm Craig DeGrelli. It's Wednesday, October 23rd, 2024, and these are your Unbiased Updates. Less than 2 weeks until Election Day, Kamala Harris gets some help on the campaign trail from a former president and famous rapper, while Donald Trump targets a certain voting bloc. We'll also look ahead to where they are going next. Also, the Golden Arches dealing with a serious crisis. One of McDonald's famous burgers linked to a deadly E. coli outbreak. What the culprit might be, and the action McDonald's is now taking.
From the Straight Arrow News Studio, bringing the stories that matter to you from across the United States and around the world, these are today's Unbiased Updates.
Let me be very clear. Mine will not be a continuation of the Biden administration. I bring my own experiences, my own ideas to it, and it has informed a number of my areas of focus, most of which are, on, to your point, lowering costs. I am traveling the country. I am very clear. Cost of groceries still too high. The voters know it. I know it.
Vice President Kamala Harris once again questioned about how her presidency would be different than that of President Joe Biden. The Democratic nominee sitting down for an interview with NBC News on Tuesday, continuing her media tour with less than 2 weeks to go until Election Day. During the interview, Harris was asked about why she is reluctant to talk about the historic nature of her candidacy. If she were to win, she would become the first female U.S. president, and why she has been reluctant to speak about it.
Well, I'm clearly a woman. I don't need to point that out to anyone. The point that most people really care about is, can you do the job? And do you have a plan to actually focus on them? My challenge is the challenge of making sure I can talk with and listen to as many voters as possible and earn their vote. And I will never assume that anyone in our country should elect a leader based on their gender or their race. Instead, that leader needs to earn the vote based on substance and what they will do to address challenges and to inspire people to know that their aspirations and their ambitions can and will be achieved through the opportunity to do that.
In Detroit, a rally was held in support of the vice president, featuring rapper Eminem and former President Barack Obama.
I also think that people shouldn't be afraid to express their opinions. And I don't think anyone wants an America where people are worried about retribution or what people will do if you make your opinion known. I think Vice President Harris supports a future for this country where these freedoms and many others will be protected and upheld.
Meantime, Republican nominee, former President Donald Trump, held a campaign event at his golf club in Doral, Florida, with Latino supporters, where he expressed how he feels America is viewed under the current administration.
Because we're not going to play games, because we're going to lose our country. Our country's failing. We don't know what we're doing. We're laughed at all over the world. President Xi thinks we're stupid. Putin thinks we're stupid. That would have never happened. Putin, if I were president, Putin would have never, ever gone into Ukraine.
Then the former president returned to North Carolina, holding a rally where he criticized the vice president for not having any campaign events so close to Election Day.
But you know what she did? She took a day off. How do you take a day off? 14 days, you don't take days off, right? I've gone 52 days now. I got 14 more. We don't take days off. We got to win this thing. If we don't win it, our country's in big trouble.
Coming up on the campaign trail, Vice President Harris returns to Pennsylvania today and will hold a rally on Thursday in Atlanta alongside Bruce Springsteen. Former President Donald Trump heads back to Georgia today and will record an interview on Friday on Joe Rogan's podcast. The Georgia Supreme Court says it will not step in to reinstate Republican-backed new election rules ahead of Election Day. 7 of the rules put in place by the state election board after the 2020 election were declared, quote, illegal, unconstitutional, and void by a lower-level judge last week. On Tuesday, Georgia's Supreme Court rejected the Republican-led effort to put the rules, which include 1 requiring ballots be hand-counted and 2 related to certifying results, back in place, and declined to consider an expedited appeal. In the Middle East, Israel says it has killed the man who was next in line to take over as the leader of the militant group Hezbollah. Israeli officials say an airstrike in Beirut, Lebanon, killed Hashim Safiuddin a few weeks ago, along with other commanders of the Iran-backed militant group. Hezbollah has not confirmed Israel's claim that Safiuddin is dead. This comes as U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is in the Middle East looking to broker a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas in the wake of the killing of Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar and bring more humanitarian aid to Gaza. On Tuesday, Israeli leaders told Blinken it's not Israel's policy to isolate northern Gaza, despite recent UN claims that Israeli authorities have denied efforts to bring more aid to the area, according to an NBC News report. In a letter this month, Blinken and Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin gave Israel 30 days to increase basic humanitarian aid to Gaza or risk restrictions on U.S. military assistance as required under U.S. law. Israeli officials say they have taken action in response to the letter, and while Blinken acknowledged progress has been made, he adds it is not sufficient. Back here in the U.S., the CDC has issued a safety alert for a McDonald's staple, specifically the fast food chain's iconic Quarter Pounder. Health officials say McDonald's Quarter Pounders have been linked to E. coli outbreaks in at least 10 states. They say 49 people have become sick and one person has died in connection with the outbreak. Most of the illnesses have been reported in Nebraska and Colorado. The CDC says so far it appears the onions used as a topping on the burgers are the likeliest source of the outbreak. McDonald's has now stopped using the onions and is not serving the Quarter Pounder in affected states. In a statement, the company says it believes the onions came from a single supplier. This morning, the investigation continues. It seems Denny's has not been such a grand slam for Americans lately. The diner chain, perhaps best known for its Grand Slam breakfast, is closing 150 of its restaurants. Executives say 50 of the lowest performing diners will close by the end of this year, with 100 more slated to shutter next year. Denny's, which has been in business for more than 70 years, says the focus is on closing locations that are too old to remodel, as well as some in unprofitable areas, but it has not yet specified which locations are shutting down. Finally this morning, we might soon be riding around in flying vehicles called electric air taxis after the FAA released its, quote, final piece of the puzzle. The FAA issued its new rules on Tuesday regarding the plane's 880 pages of special regulations, including training protocols for pilots and operational requirements for the half airplane and half helicopter air taxis. At first, the planes act like a helicopter during takeoff, then change modes to be more like an airplane during flight, before switching back for the landing. The FAA calls it the introduction to a new category of aircraft. The first electric air taxi could be operational by sometime next year. I guess you could say we're all eventually going to meet George Jetson. Those are your unbiased updates for this Wednesday. We'll see you back here tomorrow. For all of us here at Straight Arrow News, I'm Craig DeGrelli. Have a great day.